Before I adopted a religious belief system on my own terms, my own will growing up, I realized that I realized the soul trapping agenda, and I realized that I would never want to bring children into this world. I would never fall for it. And a part of that I have to give credit to is my desires for the same gender. That helped me along the way as well to not fall for being with the opposite gender and accidentally or deliberately forcing another being into existence. So I have to give credit to homogenous union, homogenous desire, and the sexuality of homosexual desires because it helped safeguarded me from soul trapping agenda, even though it was some trauma experience growing up because of my belief system or the belief system that was enforced on me. And that was Christianity, the belief system, and what scriptures was emphasized growing up. And I can't just be so blame my mom or anyone for pushing it. It's just that's what was taught upon them. So they carry that trauma, that way of thinking from generation to generation. And we got to break those generational cycles, those curses, as well as the curse of forcing other beings into existence. And while growing up, I had another chance of instilling that book or that religion into my lifestyle. But because of my desires of the flesh was stronger in my early ages, 20s, whatever, I skipped out on it. But it was a good thing because religion can be used to also help, but it's also used to trap you. And if used as a soul trap, it will trap you into following the belief system to shame yourself for your desires of the same gender and to emphasize homogenous union and accidentally or deliberately forcing other beings into existence when clearly even Christ told us that we should be like him. He prefers to be like him, not to have a partner, not to force other beings into existence. It's been examples of not forcing other beings into existence. But there are people who are going to try to use that book or anything to pressure folks into existence, to pressure you into the soul trap. And you have to realize that not birthing anyone into existence is your best bet for not only for yourself, but for the other person or other entity. The spirit, freeing the spirits, freeing us from this abuse of being existence, of being in existence, of being a matrix toy for these unseen beings, gods or whatever. So, yeah, I had to thank my desires, even though, dealing with another person, it has its ups and downs, regardless of the gender. But I have to say that I don't believe homosexuality is an abomination, and I don't need a religion or anybody to tell me that whether it's right or wrong. It was just a part of your being, of your evolution, of my being, of my own evolution. Do I have to be with a mate in order to have a happy life? No, I don't. Do I need to do it or go back with another person? No, not necessarily. But do I want to fall for the soul trap or force another being into existence or forcing them into the soul trap? About forcing other beings into existence? No, definitely not. And I advise anyone else not to as well, because that's the most benevolent thing you can do is not bring anyone else into existence, regardless of where you stand in your faith or belief systems or preferences. Not birthing another being into existence is the best thing you could ever do in this life, in this existence. I don't understand why. Well, I don't even want to say too much. I think I already said it more than enough. It's not that I'm trying to hark down or be negative towards my heterogeneous union. It's just that, because I know certain people can not birth children, whether they're with the opposite sex, gender, or with the same. I'm just telling you my testimony as in a positive light to what is deemed an abomination or wrong. Do I suspect that they have done things to try to deter the average person from being homosexual or lesbian? Of course, they has. Do I expect that the government has, or religious groups have, or cult groups have, or fanatics? I do. One of it is just planting the germs or certain disease in the communities to deter them. That has been done in the past, and it's been conspiracy theories that have aimed at this, that they deliberately have done things to try to deter the union between same genders, homogenous union. Do I think that stuff has been done to deter me from it? Of course. And I've told you that in the previous video about my Tabo moment and whatever. So it has been done to deter me and to try to coerce me to fall for the soul trap, to be pressured to feel like heterogeneous union is the only union that is probably the righteous one, when in turn it's the one that birthed all the other issues, all the other sins, problems, evils, as well as goods. But it's what keeps this life, this simulation going, this world going. So it's done backwards deliberately to keep the lie going when it should be ending. Self-gratification and homogenous union aren't the problem. They're, if anything, they're still the solution, as well as just not being with anyone. All those three methods are celibacy being the highest, the best. Is the best method to achieving permanent escape, eternal peace. It leads to the way. It leads the way for us all, for us to be the saviors. I'm not saying heterogeneous union is just all bad, because if you can control and deliberately not birth children, then it's just as good. But you you can't argue that it will always be the risky when it comes down to soul, adhering to the soul trap, because opposite gender is the one that births other beings into existence, into this world, where you experience all kind of evils, goods, evils, depending on uh, the different factors that you're around, or in your life that you experience. Some people experience decent, good lives, and some not so much. So that's why I say it's better to choose to go instinct, uh, to not birth anymore, because you're just forcing people into something that they never intend adhere to. It is involuntary. But yeah, they're just food for thought. Um, can people still be in a homogeneous union and not force another being into existence? Of course, it has been done, and it's being done, and it's still being done. I'm just giving credit where credit is due for myself. I give myself the most credit because I had to realize that growing up. Would my life would be less problems if I hadn't been with anyone? Of course, I believe so. But I didn't. I wasn't aware of that. I was aware of that option, but I wasn't aware of that option because I hormones, of course, and I saw everybody want to be in a relationship with someone, so I just felt the need to still be in a relationship with someone. So that's what happened throughout my journey, and when I became more spiritually involved, and I did my research, I learned of everything, and I learned of how people can use, more or less. I've always realized this growing up. They can utilize certain information to sway your your perspectives on subject matters, especially when it comes down to desires. So we have to be that type to discern and know when they're using something to try to control you, and when they're using it to um, empower you. So I have to be that. Growing up, I always had to be that strong type of minded person, or strong person, and it really does. It takes work, but because of my desires, like I said, it has saved me from potentially bringing another person into this world. So hats off to me, thanks to me, and thanks to my homogenous desires at the time. But I think it still boils down to thanking myself. Uh, it just the way, the path that I chose, it just happens to be that. But you have to know that you are your savior, and in turn, you can save others with your testimonies and with deliberately using your sovereign right to not birth others into this realm, regardless of your preferences, regardless of your religious belief. You are the savior. You can be the savior. And that's how you become the savior, in your own way, in your own sovereign right, by not forcing another being into existence. You don't necessarily have to be with anyone. You don't. Just don't birth another being into existence. That's all. That's the most simplest breakdown I can give you. Don't fall for the soul trap agenda.